$13 billion. That's what it costs to build just one of America's most advanced aircraft carriers. But the build price? That's actually the cheapest part of this whole story. By the time you factor in the daily operations, the crew, the aircraft, the escort ships, and 50 full years of maintenance, the real number climbs so high that most Americans have never heard it out loud. And right now, in 2026, the U.S. Navy is under serious pressure to justify every single dollar. This is the true cost of the most powerful war machine ever built, and the numbers are going to stop you cold. Introduction. The aircraft carrier is the most powerful symbol of American military strength on the planet. The moment a U.S. carrier battle group appears off a coastline, threats back down and allies breathe easier. These ships are not just weapons, they are instruments of peace through strength, operating anywhere on Earth without asking anyone for permission. But behind every deployment and every sailor standing watch at 3 a.m. on the open ocean, there is a price tag. And lately that price tag has become one of the most debated topics in Washington, D.C., inside the Pentagon, and on the floor of Congress itself. Today we are pulling back the curtain on every layer of that cost, the real numbers, the overruns, the technical failures, and why most Americans who understand military strategy still believe every dollar is justified. The build cost. Let's start at the very beginning. What does it actually cost to put one of these ships in the water? The newest carrier in the U.S. fleet is the USS Gerald R. Ford. She is the lead ship of the Ford class, the most technologically advanced class of aircraft carriers ever constructed by any nation in the history of naval warfare. Her final procurement cost came in at $13.3 billion. Let that number sit for just a moment. Now here's what makes that figure even harder to swallow. When this program was first approved by Congress, the U.S. Navy set a cost cap of $10.5 billion for this ship. By the time it was actually delivered, the price had jumped by 27%, nearly $3 billion over the original promise. What drove that increase? The Navy made a bold, some would say reckless, decision during the design phase. They chose to introduce 23 brand new technologies all at the same time on a single platform. A new electromagnetic aircraft launching system. A new system for catching aircraft when they land. New radar arrays. New weapons handling automation. New power generation systems. Engineering that many unknowns all at once on the most expensive military ship ever built, that kind of risk has a price. And the construction cost is just one piece of the bill. The research and development for the entire Ford-class program required an additional $5 billion on top of what it cost to build individual ships. That money was spent before a single carrier ever touched the water. The follow-on ships are not getting cheaper either. The USS John F. Kennedy, the second ship in this class, is now estimated at $13.2 billion. The USS Enterprise, the third, has climbed to $14.2 billion, and it has already been delayed by close to 2 years. Every month a ship sits unfinished at the shipyard is another month of labor, overhead, and contractor costs piling up. Congress has not been quiet about this. Oversight committees have pushed back repeatedly, demanded detailed cost reporting, and at various points threatened to withhold funding until the Navy could demonstrate it had the situation under control. That is the opening number on the bill. But what happens after the ship is delivered, that's where the real spending begins. And this next part is something most Americans have never heard broken down before: what it costs every single day. Once a carrier leaves the shipyard and enters active service, the cost does not slow down, it accelerates. A Ford-class aircraft carrier costs between $6 million and $8 million every single day to operate. That is not a monthly figure. That is not an annual average broken down into smaller numbers. That is every 24 hours this ship is active, roughly $250,000 to $330,000 per hour around the clock every day of the year. What does that money actually go toward? At the center of it is the crew. A Ford-class carrier requires more than 4,500 personnel, sailors, pilots, engineers, medics, mechanics, cooks, weapons specialists, and support staff of every kind. Their salaries, housing allowances, training costs, and benefits add up continuously. Feeding that crew alone means preparing over 14,000 meals every single day aboard the ship. Then there are the aircraft. A standard carrier air wing includes over 70 planes, FA-18 Super Hornets, F-35C Lightning IIs, EA-18G Growler electronic warfare jets, E-2D Hawkeye airborne early warning aircraft, and MH-60 helicopters. These aircraft don't sit still. They fly constant training missions, patrol sorties, and combat operations. The FA-18 Super Hornet costs over $10,000 per flight hour to operate. The F-35C runs close to $30,000 per hour in the air. During a single 6-month deployment, the air wing racks up thousands of flight hours. The aviation costs alone are staggering. And here is something most people never think about. A carrier never ever sails alone. The U.S. Navy deploys these ships as the centerpiece of what is called a carrier strike group. That group typically includes 1 to 2 guided missile cruisers, 2 to 3 destroyers, a fast attack submarine, and a dedicated supply ship carrying fuel, food, and ammunition. When you combine the operating costs of all those escort vessels with the carrier itself, the total daily operating cost for a full carrier strike group climbs to approximately $6,500,000 per day. That means on any given day, when the U.S. deploys a carrier strike group into a contested region, the South China Sea, the Persian Gulf, the Mediterranean, it is spending over $6.5 million just for that single day of presence. A standoff that lasts 3 weeks costs more than $135 million in operating expenses alone. And that number does not include combat losses, emergency repairs, or surge operations. The 50-year price tag. Now multiply that daily burn rate across a 50-year service life, and the numbers enter a different dimension entirely. Maintenance costs alone for the USS Gerald R. Ford over her full 50-year service life are projected at nearly $27 billion. That is just maintenance, not operations, not aircraft, not crew. Just keeping the ship's systems running, her nuclear reactor maintained, her weapons systems updated, and her hull in serviceable condition year after year. When analysts step back and calculate the complete picture, construction, day-to-day operations, long-term maintenance, aircraft procurement, system upgrades, reactor refueling, and eventual decommissioning, the total lifetime cost for a single Ford-class carrier is estimated to fall between $25 billion and $30 billion. Some broader analyses, accounting for all related infrastructure and support systems, push that figure even higher. One area that rarely makes the front page is the midlife reactor refueling. Nuclear carriers require a major overhaul roughly halfway through their operational life, a process called a refueling and complex overhaul. It can take several years and costs billions of dollars on its own. That cost is not included in the headline build price. It gets budgeted separately, which means the publicly stated cost of owning a carrier is consistently lower than the true number. The Congressional Budget Office has noted this pattern more than once. Budget presentations regularly exclude air wings, escort vessels, refueling costs, and certain post-delivery items from the main procurement line. That keeps the public-facing number looking smaller than the reality. The Navy does have a legitimate counter-argument, and it deserves to be heard. The Ford class was specifically engineered to cost less to run over its lifetime than the older Nimitz class it is replacing. Automation systems reduce the crew requirement by several hundred sailors compared to a Nimitz-class ship. Improved engineering reduced long-term maintenance demands. The Navy projects $5 billion in lifetime savings per Ford-class carrier compared to a Nimitz-class vessel. They originally aimed for $4 billion in savings per ship. They now believe they will exceed that target. That is a real benefit, but it does not change the core reality Owning and operating one of these ships for 50 years is one of the largest financial commitments any government makes to any single piece of hardware. The problems nobody talked about. Building something this sophisticated came with serious consequences, and they played out very publicly in ways the Navy had not anticipated. The electromagnetic aircraft launch system, known as EMALS, was supposed to be the crown jewel of the entire Ford-class program. Traditional carriers used steam catapults to launch aircraft off the flight deck. EMALS replaced those with an electromagnetic linear motor designed to deliver smoother launches, reduce the physical stress on airframes, and provide better compatibility with future unmanned aircraft. But EMALS did not perform as promised. During sea trials and testing phases, the system failed repeatedly. Reliability numbers fell well short of what the Navy required. Flight operations were disrupted during critical evaluation periods. Engineers were sent back to redesign components multiple times. As recently as FY 2024, the Navy was still working to improve data collection on EMALS reliability and had not yet demonstrated consistent, sustained progress. Criticism reached the very top of government. President Trump publicly stated in 2025 that he was not confident EMALS could keep functioning if water reached the magnets, and he openly said he preferred the older steam catapult systems. That kind of direct presidential skepticism about a $13 billion warship's primary aircraft launching system is not something the Navy could simply ignore. The advanced weapons elevators created another serious problem. These elevators were designed to move ammunition from lower storage decks to the flight deck faster and more safely than ever before. When the USS Gerald R. Ford was officially commissioned in 2017, only 4 of the 11 promised elevators were actually working. The remaining 7 required years of additional engineering work, contractor hours, and taxpayer money before all 11 were functioning as intended. The advanced arresting gear, the system that catches and stops aircraft during landing, also had documented reliability problems throughout its testing and early operational phases. The combined result of all these issues was this. The USS Gerald R. Ford was commissioned in 2017, reached initial operational capability in December 2021, and did not begin her first actual combat deployment until October 2022, more than 5 years after commissioning. 5 years. On a $13 billion ship. And the costs kept climbing. According to a recent government accountability report, the Ford-class program's unit costs increased by 3%, roughly $480 million, in a single year alone. That is what happens when the most ambitious military engineering project in history hits turbulence. Where things stand in 2026. Here is what is happening right now, and this is information you will not find summarized anywhere in one place. As of April 2026, the U.S. Navy is conducting a formal review of CVN-82 and CVN-83, the 5th and 6th ships of the Ford class, named the USS William J. Clinton and the USS George W. Bush. Navy leadership has stated publicly that this review exists to confirm that the designs and financial plans behind these ships make sense before procurement moves forward. That review is expected to wrap up by the end of May 2026. The FY 2027 defense budget is requesting $65.8 billion for Navy shipbuilding alone, part of a broader $1.5 trillion defense package. Within that request, $3.43 billion is earmarked specifically for Ford-class carrier procurement and advance funding. There is also active discussion about buying CVN-82 and CVN-83 together under a single block buy contract. That arrangement could save approximately $5 billion compared to purchasing them separately. But that deal has not been finalized, and the ongoing cost review could change the terms, the timeline, or both. What all of this tells us is straightforward: the financial debate around U.S. aircraft carriers is not a closed chapter. It is live and unresolved, playing out in real time inside the halls of power right now. Is it worth it? Now we get to the question that sits at the center of all of this. Is it worth it? Here is what the history actually shows. U.S. aircraft carriers have not just been deployed in wars, they have prevented them. U.S. carrier jets mounted 3/4 of all strike missions in the first 3 months of Afghanistan in 2001 from international waters without needing a single foreign base. When Turkey and Saudi Arabia refused access at the start of the Iraq conflict, 5 carrier battle groups moved in from open ocean and launched 8,000 sorties in the first month alone. These ships do not ask permission. They do not need a runway in a country that might change its mind. They bring their own airport, their own hospital, and their own nuclear power plant wherever America needs it, whenever America needs it. The capital cost of a Ford-class carrier is less than 2% of the annual U.S. defense budget. For that price, America gets unmatched global reach, around the clock, in any ocean on Earth. And behind every flight deck, there are 4,500 men and women serving in conditions most Americans will never see. No cost analysis fully captures what they represent. Conclusion. One Ford-class carrier costs $13.3 billion to build. Daily operations run $6 million to $8 million around the clock. Lifetime maintenance pushes close to $27 billion. The full life cycle cost crosses $25 billion per ship. The debate over whether that is too much is real, and in 2026, it is still very much alive inside Washington, D.C. But American sea power is not optional. It never has been. Hit the like button, subscribe, and stay with us. There is a lot more where this came from.